everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm not excited to give you guys an update on the Airbnb. I really hope that the audio echoes as much while I'm editing this as it is right now. As you can see, taking a look around, not much of the basement has changed. And I feel so behind on this Airbnb project. And I'm excited to share how it's been with you because I think this stage is just as important as the actual build of the Airbnb. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the overwhelming challenges and confusion when it comes to permits in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I'll share kindly my thoughts on the whole idea of having to pay someone for permission to finish my own basement in a house I own. But such is rules. Part of the build process, I learned quite a bit on that process, so I'm excited to share that. In this video, I am also going to draw out the floor plan. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to mark out the floor with painter's tape or if I'm going to be able to track down a piece of chalk, but we're going to do that. We're going to draw out the floor plan. It'll not only give us an idea of where the walls are going to go, because as soon as the permits come back, we can get started on that, but also gives us an idea of what kind of storage we are going to have in the basement for our own personal stuff. And then another thing I really want to talk about is the unexpected changes that we've had to make in our basement, because again, the rules around building a legal suite slash non-legal suite slash if you put an oven, the thousands of dollars then that you also need to put in. So we've made some key decisions related to our Airbnb that are going to be key in making this build both cost effective, but also easy to do and comfortable for our future guests. First off, let's start by talking about the permit. This is probably the one thing that held me back the most from getting this project started. Basically, for those that don't know, a permit is essentially getting permission from the city or county that you live in to be able to actually move ahead with making major structural changes to either the inside or outside of your house. Future Linda here. As I'm editing this, I realize that I only talk about needing permits when you're doing major structural, which is ironic because we're not touching the foundation or any load-bearing walls in our basement. But you could need a permit for a number of different renovations or upgrades that you plan on doing. So in the basement, for example, we need a structural permit or builder's permit because we're physically putting up walls. But there's also an electrical permit if you're looking to add a breaker to the panel, add another panel, move some lights around, install additional lighting. If you're running wires, you need an electrical permit. There's a water permit. That one is in case you need to make major changes to the water system installed in your house. So not just plunking a toilet on, but if you need to move water lines, you need a water permit. There's also a permit if you're changing or moving around gas lines, heating ducts. And then you have other permits such as like to build a garage or to build a deck, or like our side entrance is going to need a platform and stairs. We are eventually going to need to buy a permit for that as well. So it's not just major structural changes, but if you're changing anything that is part of the main structure of a home, then you're going to need to get that permit. The biggest challenge that I had as it relates specifically to the permit outside of my personal opinion on the idea that I need to get someone else's opinion to do something as simple as finish my basement. We won't get into that. That is strictly personal, even though I think it's silly. But outside of that, essentially, before we even start putting walls up, we needed to get a permit. We needed to get permission to start the build and start the process of building our Airbnb. When we first started talking about the process and having to go through permits, the biggest challenge that I faced is that we spoke about the permitting to several different people, and every single person gave us a different set of rules. Now, I'm talking specifically friends that are contractors. We have a friend who is a city inspector in a different city, different tradespeople, and it became so overwhelming. It got to the point where I felt like there were so many rules around what I could do in my own house that I had a moment thinking, forget it. This is not worth the headache. Okay, so then something happened. A really good friend of mine reached out to me and he said, hey, do you need a permit to do your Airbnb? And I said, yes. Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. And he said, I should probably get a permit because I got to put some walls up in my basement. So he messaged me literally the next day and said, hey, permit in hand, look, I'm ready to go. And I thought, man, I really need to just start. So I went onto the City of Edmonton website and I took a look at their very unclear list of things that need to be done and things that require permits. And after adding everything to my shopping cart, it was about $800. I had a breakdown and I phoned my dad. So I had a conversation with my dad. First things first, he told me, he said, you need to phone 311. You need to get in touch with the people in the city whose job it is to write permits and tell them about your situation, tell them what you're looking to do, and start there. That's what I did. After some conversation with the permitting people, we were advised that because we did so much work up front with the builders in terms of having all the lines run, because we're not actually having to move lines or break concrete or make changes to the water system that's been put in place in the house, we don't need a water permit. So that was a huge savings. Second was the HVAC, heating, natural gas. Natural gas, obviously not a concern. There's no natural gas being installed in the basement in any capacity. And we got lucky that the heat vents that are already existing down there would mean there's one in the bedroom, one in the bathroom, and two in the main space. So call it one in the living room, one in the kitchen. So this means that we did not need any permit for that facet of renovation. Electrical, hands down, we need electrical. There's literally 2 bulbs down there. So we need to run a lot of plugs, a lot of switches, and a lot of new bulbs. So electrical permit was purchased. And then you need the main building permit. So the one that allows us to put up walls in the basement. What started out as $850 in a panic attack was more like $380, $400. I did have to get someone call me back specifically as it relates to the steps coming into our side entrance. Obviously, we need steps to get into the house, and our house is built a bit on a mountain, so the stairs would be like well above your typical 1 or 2 steps that doesn't require a permit. So unfortunately, our side entrance is going to need a permit because it is above a certain height, and I made the decision to not move ahead with that permit at this time because they still have to do final grade on our house. Because most of the construction material can either come through the basement window and other stuff through the front door, we're gonna worry about that closer to when we need it for final grid. So, permits, done. They've been ordered. I'm just waiting on the final go-ahead for those specifically. A few other changes we had to make as it relates to the permitting and not overwhelming myself with all of the other crazy, silly rules. Maybe they're not silly. I'm sure there's a totally reasonable explanation to all of these, but one of the rules was around the oven. If you're going to put an oven into a basement space, it is then needs to be converted to an entirely separate suite, where really we're just finishing our own basement and it just happens to have a side entrance. So putting in the oven was such a big distinguisher in terms of how the space was qualified. So having an oven would have resulted in needing a separate furnace or heating source for the basement and its own separate hot water tank and the whole fan thing above the oven. So what we opted for instead is we are going to put a wet bar down there. It's already roughed in for a wet bar. So there will be running water. We'll be able to put a fridge. There's no speculations or rules around that. So instead of an oven, to make things simple, we are going to simply put a really awesome Cuisinart toaster, oven, air fry unit in there. So it's a countertop unit. It's not going to require any of the specifications of an oven. And based on the people that we plan on targeting in terms of renting out our Airbnb, no one's going to be down there baking cookies. It is going to be more than adequate for the needs that we have and will literally save us thousands and thousands of dollars. And at the end of the day, all of this, because it is registered as a business in our home, I made sure to do that on the permitting. It's all going to be a write-off at the end of the day. So I can't wait to now get the official permit in my hand so that we can bring some tools over and start throwing 2x4s into the basement. Okay, so what I'm really excited to do is I'm gonna take the floor plans for the basement and some painter's tape, and I'm going to lay out where we anticipate the walls are going to be, because once that's done, we're going to have a really clear idea of what this room's going to feel like once we start putting up some walls. I'm going to start with the bedroom, bathroom, closet section because that's where the bulk of the walls are going to be. That's where it's really going to frame in the basement, and that's where I know where the walls are without having to like measure anything. I guess what my brain is interpreting as the floor plan that we played out, it's always so crazy to see it in a real format of what it actually looks like. It's kind of cleaning up some of the mess here so I can share what this floor plan looks like. And it's so crazy to see it with walls because, to be honest, it changes some of the electrical I think we're going to need to do down here, which is whatever. We're just not going to need as many lights as I thought because the space is not as big as I thought. So let's lay it out from the stairs. Okay, so starting at the stairs area, there's almost like this landing pad. This is gonna do a few things. First off, it's gonna give a space that is neutral. So as the homeowner, should I need to come downstairs and access the utility room, I'm gonna be able to do that. I'm gonna be able to open a door here that will allow me access to the furnace, the water tank, you know, all the bits and bobs down there, along with our personal storage. It's also going to create a door for our, you know, short-term renter to be able to enter their own space. This will be a door that we're going to be able to have a lock on so that they can have their, you know, privacy while they're utilizing this space. So we'll be able to have a lock here, have a key for them to keep with them during the length of their stay, and still make sure that everyone has access to all the rooms that they need to. Our utility room will also be locked, probably with some kind of maybe padlock. Haven't decided that yet. I'm gonna do some research and figure out what the best option for that is, because should we not be home and the furnace stops working, we obviously want them to have access to go down there, flick it on and off, should we give them those instructions. A big part obviously for us, and I gotta refine these walls because I'm not sure if the door is intended to go here or here. I'm pretty sure it's here, but we want to make sure that even though it's not a lot of stuff, that we make room for it so that we're not overcrowding this space. So there's still a decent amount of room to be able to move around comfortably in our mechanical room, store what we need to, and obviously we're going to make better use of the under-stair storage area. So then we get into the living space for our short-term renter. First off, we have quite a lot of space in terms of the laundry room. Seeming that it's gonna start here, there's gonna be so much added space over here before the laundry comes into play. I think what this does is it gives not only a good like entry space for them to be able to, you know, maybe hang dirty clothes, have an area for coats, but I think I'm also going to be able to put like a locked cabinet where I can store like extra soaps, extra beddings, stuff like that. Stuff that they're not going to need, but is going to be essential to making sure that this space is kept and comfortable and easy to like switch over between guests. So I kind of like how big and beautiful that space is. Now, coming into this regular space where we are currently storing some artwork and stuff, if you see my declutter video, all of this stuff is stuff that was decluttered from upstairs, brought downstairs, and now it's just gonna hang out and live here until we're ready for it. But this space over here is going to be the wet bar. So plenty of room for counter, maybe wrap around. We're not quite sure. We're obviously going to choose what best suits this space. Room for a small dining table slash desk or workspace. Currently, my snowboard and boots, which I plan to sell because I don't do winter sports. And then we enter a pretty decent sized space here for the living room. We really hemmed and hawed about the living room in terms of the capacity to put a sleeper sofa in it. Because the market that I want to target for short-term rental is going to be people who are typically coming in for work, they're doing shutdowns, they're coming in for a couple weeks at a time to work on the job and then go home. Typically, these people would not be renting a hotel room that they're sharing with someone else. So the need for a pull-out sofa, at least right away, is not going to be entirely necessary. It actually opens a door for us to be able to use the sofa that we currently have, because we're replacing it, being able to put it down here and save a little bit of money up front. And then in a couple months down the road, once we've been able to make some money off of our basement suite, then we'll upgrade the couch. And then it also puts us in a position where we're not rushing to get like an IKEA special, but maybe it means that we can give it a little bit more time and buy a good quality pull-out sofa that might just be longer lasting and more comfortable. Obviously, I'm aware that long term, having an extra sleeping space down here is going to mean that we can accommodate a larger demographic of people. In the meantime though, this space feels pretty big. And then we move into the bedroom. The line that you see at the bottom of the screen, that is the doorway to the bathroom. So this space here would be the bedroom, essentially. And it's a pretty decent size. Moving that wall a little bit more just means that we can have the bed facing this way, creates a little more symmetry in the room. That way, if we do end up having a couple stay with us for a short time, then there'll be able to be 2 nightstands on either side, and that just looks better. And then obviously the bedroom is at this side of the room because based on code, this is where our really big window is. So we have a massive window down here. It lets in a tremendous amount of light. So the bedroom is over here. We're gonna put a lot of lights in the ceiling so that the whole place feels really big and lit up. And then if we take a look at our bathroom, it will be a decent sized bathroom. There's gonna be plenty of room for a nice sized vanity here, the potty, and then a real tub and surround. So it's going to be a 4-piece. And then going over here, we've got a decent sized closet space. We'll be able to put some rails along these walls here, which means if someone is staying with us for a couple weeks, they're gonna have tons of space to put up everything that they need to in their closet so that they can actually unpack and feel a little bit more at home in the space if they have room to, you know, pull the things out of their suitcase. It feels so cool to have taken this space and actually taped it out, actually be able to see what it's gonna look like, to be able to walk around in it. I can't wait to start putting up walls and really seeing this space come together. So next time we do an update, it's gonna be tools, lumber, and hopefully some walls. I can't wait to be able to start this new adventure as we create a second stream of cash flow in our basement and share this adventure with all of you guys. So if you want to keep up to date with how this Airbnb build is going, definitely hit the subscribe button, and I really want you to be here on the next one. Also, check out all the other videos that I have on my channel as we do reviews and days in the life. I talk about being a wife, being a business owner, growing our team, growing our family, and all the other adventures yet to come. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.